All right, let's start it off. What we got? Nice little chop, just rip straight to the quarterback. This is why it's so dangerous to be a speed rusher. As a speed rusher, you have so many options, so many tools that you can provide and show to these offensive linemen that get them scared. Like speed scares majority of offensive linemen. Speed scares the majority of offensive linemen. If you're watching this get off, as soon as you get an offensive lineman to any point like this with their hips facing this way, like it's because they're scared of the speed. It's because they're scared of the speed, and it makes it so much easier for a speed guy. As soon as he gets his hips, this O lineman's hips open, so easy for him to just throw that chop right there, dip low, and finish through, scrape the ground and finish. Mm. I mean, I would still count that as a win. I was gonna count this as a win though for sure. I think that's Peter Woods. Peter Woods working against this guard here. Let's just break it down from the start. What does he do here? He's hezzy, jab, converts back out. Doesn't really move him too much. What I would say about this rush here, he does too much dancing in the beginning. He just needs to get into his rush because we're watching boom, boom, boom. He's hezzy, and that dude didn't really give him anything to work with to be hezzying like that. He's not really going anywhere with the hezzy. Like he does end up ultimately jabbing and then getting converting back to that outside third, but we don't have any time in the pass rush game. We don't have any time in the pass. Like once it's passed, we have no time. We gotta not have wasted movements, wasted steps, and get straight into our work. Granted, it is one-on-ones, but at the same time, we gotta be efficient with our steps, and then when we get into that jab, be lethal with that jab. Nice power. Chris Jones, uh, um, he's trying to be too sweet with it right there. Oh my! I was hoping to see something crazy from Chris Jones. Nice lift. Counter. That was disgusting. Oh my gosh. Let's take that back. Break this down a little bit. What does he get right here? He has a puncher on him, but he's converting to power, lifting up that hand because his hand's on him. Shoulder, counter back, finish through. Disgusting. I think this is George Karlaftis on this one-on-one pass rush against Josh Simmons. Here we have a puncher, but he feels that hand immediately on his shoulder. But see, a lot of D-line is all about feel. He's not really anticipating that he's gonna lift. He's not already thinking, okay, I'm about to stab lift him. No, he's thinking, okay, I'm going rush, 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 rush. He opens up his hips. I'm gonna convert to power. So I'm giving him that power. And what does he do? He's more of a puncher type of guy. So as soon as he feels that hand on his shoulder, now he's getting right into his lift, throw away, and then this counter right here is just beautiful because as soon as he lifts, he knows that that tackle is going to try to recover from him. He knows that that tackle is going to try to recover and wash him out. And as soon as he does this, he still keeps that leverage here and counters back underneath, which is next level to finish through and win. That's a great rep. Get some game work here. Ooh, got strapped up a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I think it was just double free rush. It looked like another double free rush possibly. With these, I think it's George Karlaftis in number 92. I'm not really sure who it is yet. Nice. I love this game right here. They did a fake game on their O line. And this is what the best when O linemen know in practice that they're about to get that they're working games, they try to cheat the game so bad. They try to cheat the game so bad. Like, bro, just play it true and honest. But this is exactly what happens when you try to play the drill. When the O linemen try to play the drill, D linemen, we like this. We locked in. Look at each other. Yeah, fake game, fake game. Yeah, fake game. And by a fake game, what a fake game is, you have these regular games like a text or like end goes first and then the tackle goes. It's all different games that you can work. This one is a fake game. So what you want to do, you're pretty much trying to sell it with your eyes first. Like you're not actually doing a game. You're just like showing here and then trying to sell it like you're selling it with your eyes that we're gonna do something. And what that does for the offensive line, it makes them think, oh, I gotta pass that off. I gotta pass that off to the D lineman. But in reality, we're not doing anything. So watch number 92 here. When number 92, watch number 92's eyes here. Sells it. Boom, fake eyes, comes back around, clean win. Makes it so much easier for the defensive lineman. If the O lineman want to cheat during the pass rush drills, and I know it's games and they want to pass it off so quickly. Now we know what you're doing. The D line is smarter than the O lineman, bro. We're smarter than the O lineman. So what we're gonna do? We're gonna fake a game, come back around and get it cleaned up. That's what I like to see. Back to one-on-ones. Power. Yeah, I mean, what I like to see here is just get more extension from that at that point. Like you had him, but now you try to convert a little bit too quick. You went power, 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 power. He sits on that power, but you didn't get that. You need to get leverage, vision, and separation once you're getting power. Like get that full extension, use those long arms, and get him off of you until you feel that sitting down, anchoring from him, then come off. Like when you're coming in here, getting power here. Yes, this is fine and getting hat and hands on the man, but then when we get from that point to hands on man, then we gotta extend, and run your feet. Then once the anchors come off, that's a nice little lift. Okay, just straight power, straight bull. Nothing wrong with that. We'd like to see it. You come off a little bit faster, but that's fine. That he didn't. He never stopped his movement, so just keep running him. Again, as a D tackle, as a D tackle, it's so hard sometimes because on pass rush, we can kind of get caught up in trying to be so quick without getting that separation that we need, especially in our counters. Like we can get body on body to certain points in our rushes. We're getting to this point here, and it's like we don't really have once an old lineman is in here like this, it's so hard to break it. So that's why it's kind of important to create that separation off of your moves. Let's say your first move doesn't work. Now I got to convert straight to power first and then counter back. So that way, I just don't want my offensive lineman to have hands inside and start sitting down because at that point, you're done. Your rush is done. So it's so important that after your first move doesn't work as a defensive lineman, you have to create that separation and create more space for yourself to come back off and work another move. Once that first move doesn't work, I'd never want to be chest to chest with the guy, with the offensive lineman. So that way he can lock his hands in and anchor down. And once that happens, my rush is done. Nice. Nice pull through. Clamped up on the games. I like that rep right there. I like this rush right here a lot. I like this rush right here a lot. Let's watch closely. Pass rushing is a game of midlines and set points. So what I mean by that is offensive linemen are measuring your midline. They're trying to keep their foot outside set foot right in the middle of your working on your body. Because if they can stay balanced and stay right on your line as you're rushing, you're not going to be able to get around them, beat them on a counter move. They're trying to stay as balanced as possible, as much as possible. And so what if sometimes offensive linemen want to take shortcuts or try to jump on you or change something so that way they can beat you in those types of rushes. So what I mean by this is sometimes that set point, the D line as a D lineman, we have to be reactive to what the offensive lineman is giving us on our midline. See, sometimes they step over a midline as a defensive lineman and they start getting oversetting you, and this is when you counter back inside, just like what happens here in this rep. Let's go take a look at this rep here, and it's very watch super really really closely. What this offensive lineman going to do, he's going to step out, step over the defensive lineman's midline, which would be out here. So he stepped outside of his frame. And so what this defensive lineman does here is reactive, gets off, 1, 2, and he sees that, okay, this midline, his step, he's oversetting me because his foot is outside of my frame of my body. And it's allowing me to be reactive. Boom, hit a counter back inside and finish. Let's take a look. 1, 2, counter inside. It's just that simple. Sometimes it's just that simple. You don't need the best move in the world. This is why we have to have such disciplined eyes as a defensive lineman, so that way we can see and react to the certain sets on the stop of a dime and change our rush. And a simple club rip, can get you through to the quarterback. It's not really always the most fanciest move that gets you to the win, but it's understanding how you can change your rush, analyze your midpoint, and then fight to that set point to create your move on that contact zone that you're dealing with that offensive lineman. Nice bull. Nice bull. I love this bull rush right here. Straight bully ball here. Right underneath him, he knows he's going to throw that bait hand. Just reacts. Just run straight through his face. Sometimes you just got to keep it simple. Sometimes you got to keep it simple. Like as a center and stuff, they're over here trying to throw this little donkey hand right here, donkey kick with his hand, try to knock him. You get that initial punch in there. But sometimes as a defensive lineman, all you have to do is get out the ball, run through somebody's face, condense that pocket because there's only a certain amount. There's different types of wins that you can have as a defensive lineman in pass rush that doesn't always have to result in a sack, right? But our pass rushing is there's different types of wins categorized underneath pass rush. Like condensing the pocket as a defensive tackle, if you're doing that 30, 40 times a game, like that's pressure on the quarterback. Like quarterback does not like to have pressure uh, on him, offensive lineman's feet stepping on him, little hands, nicks hitting his hands. No quarterback likes that. There's only a certain amount of time that these quarterbacks can get hit, little QB hits here and there, ball, helmets on hands. It's just a tough physical game. So the more pressure that we can put on that pocket, not only just results is going to result in more sacks, but it's going to result in a more pressured QB, a more less confident offensive line as well. Because the more that they get beat, the more that they get beat, the more that they start overthinking. And plays like that, like the bull rush, just going straight through somebody's face, takes somebody's will away, but also opens up a lot of different moves as as the defensive lineman. Because the offensive lineman, once he knows like, oh snap, I don't have power against this defensive lineman. Now he's going to start trying to be reactive to that to that defensive lineman. When he's giving him power, now he's going to anchor just a little bit quicker. And so as a defensive lineman, you're playing a chess game thinking, okay, if he's anchoring now that I know I have him with power, now I can start working my finesse game. Now I can start working my finesse game and start once he anchors, boom, I'm off. I'm off and working the edge of the man every single time. Then once he starts biting on that, then I'm going back to power. That's just how it works. You got to start playing chess as a defensive lineman. Ah, no. He had him too. It's just that hand got stuck. You got to get that hand off you quick, bro. It was over as soon as the rep started. Watch here. He gets hands on him first. As a defensive lineman, you never want to get your hands put on you first. You always want to be striking and getting hands on first. So as we can see here, he's getting struck right in the middle of his chest. And old lineman, once they get that hand anchored in there and rooted in there, it's just so hard to get it off once you reach a certain level where it's like in the pros, you're just really not going to be able to get that hand off because they're trained to just root in there and be able to just hang on hang on to that defensive lineman. And that point, their feet just follow at that point. So yeah, you can. It's just taking too long. You know what I'm saying? You got to get that hand off. That's really the biggest thing there. Oh my goodness. Great get off. This might be, it might be, it might get cold, it might not. But that's that line you kind of want to teeter a little bit as a defensive lineman. That get off is everything. Watch this. Watch how crazy this get off is. He gets off before the offensive lineman gets off. Oh my goodness. But it's just perfect time. Perfectly timed get offs look crazy on tape. Get off is the most important thing in pass rush. If you're pass rushing and your get off is beating that offensive tackle before he even gets out his kick, like that's a secret. That's the most dangerous thing that you could have is speed. Is speed as a rusher. The most dangerous thing you can have as a defensive lineman is speed, especially on that edge. You don't need that many moves when you're a speed rusher and you're beating guys out of their stance of running that hoop and just getting to the quarterback. Especially like if you're triggered up and twitched up like this, that allows you to get around a corner like this. Oh my goodness. Like there's nothing that a no lineman can do with that. There's so many things off that. That's what gets them to start opening up their hips like this And then you can go off of that speed, you work power. That's what I'm saying. There's so many more. Your tool bag, when you have speed in your game, is literally limitless. It's endless how many moves that you can work, how much that old lineman will fear you because if your bag is deep with that speed, there's so many more moves that you can do off of that. I would love to see him work something off of that. I would love to see him work something off of that rip. So when you're getting in your rip game, you have to have a counter ready when you're sinking that rip in, because a lot of offensive linemen, once they get to this rip point, what they're going to try to do is bore you up. So what you're going to do, once you feel this rip sinking in here, there we go. See how he's like ripping? This defensive lineman here is ripping up. And he's getting kind of lifted by the offensive lineman. He's basically grabbing him and just lifting him up. So the only way that you can stop that vertical push as an offensive lineman is really trying to lift his chest up, which is going to lift his pad level up. Instead of taking that momentum out, he's basically trying to drive that momentum up with his body here. But what I'd like to see is some type of counter, because at this point, especially at the defensive tackle position, and when we get in three 3 yards up the field, I would say we got to start countering. You got to have some type of move here. Either lift that arm up and bore, lift that arm up and get through there, and try to turn that edge at the top of the end of the rush, or convert to power, lift out, counter, counter back inside, counter back inside with like a hump move, spin off of that, or just take it out and start going power and start collapsing that pocket. Because the last thing we need is an unbalanced pass rush lanes in this defensive line group.